All right. We're back, and everybody's back in place. Y'all ready for the next panel? Oh, come on. Y'all ready for the next panel? All right. I'm loving the energy. So what we're getting ready to do, man, I'm loving this because one of the things, I'm a part of another organization called the Hip Hop Caucus, and we always say from the streets to the suites. And, you know, it's one of those things that we can be in the suites, but we definitely going to be in the streets. And we're going to be in the streets with our people. And being in the streets, you know, we bring the streets to the suites. And sometimes folks don't know that you can go to the suites. You know, so we just go up into Capitol Hill and actually go see our folks. So we have some folks here that actually want to go see some folks. So they actually doing the work. They actually in the streets, and they actually been doing this. So, you know, these are not the talkers, these are the doers. But they can't talk. Now, they can tell you about yourself. They can tell you about power. They can tell you about everything that you need to know, but they are actually doing some work and doing the work. And it's a beautiful thing to see it, because in this work, you want to know who's true, who's really about it. And it's wonderful to see my brother, who you're going to hear after this video. Keith is just going to tell you what it's all about with this wonderful group of panelists and some folks that I've been working with for too many years.
You're getting old.
But we're going to have a good time, so just get ready as Fidel plays our first video, and the next voice you hear will be my brother Keith to start us off for the next panel.
Change the South.
Change the nation.
That's exactly what we do.
We formed the Union of Southern Service Workers.
USSW.
A union being built by and for low-wage workers across the South.
Workers like us are coming together to build our power.
Because throughout history, we have been excluded from unionizing and left behind.
And because the history of the South
is also a history of resistance.
Freedom fighters.
Social movement builders.
And revolutionary workers. Speaking of history, let's back up. Since this country was founded, the South has been central to the fate of workers. Our nation was built on the unpaid labor of enslaved workers. That history of exploitation
still shows up in our working conditions as Southern service workers.
And the living conditions of our communities.
Here in the Black Belt, we rank among the worst in the country in a whole lot of areas.
Shorter life expectancy,
low wages, and high child poverty.
Denial of basic rights, like blocking access to health care,
denying our right to abortion,
attack on voting rights,
less protections for workers,
dangerous and unstable working conditions.
And of course, we have the lowest union rates in the nation.
So how do we end up here?
Well, let's look at the laws the Southern legislators put in place to suppress workers.
Jump forward to the Reconstruction era.
When Southern business owners saw the potential power of early multiracial unions.
They feared what would happen when Black and white workers organized around common demands.
So let's not forget, Southern workers have always been organizing and resisting.
During every era,
working people in the South have found ways to fight for freedom.
But workers getting united was a threat to the system.
So to protect the South Jim Crow economy,
they passed laws that made it harder for Black and Southern workers to organize unions.
At the exact same moment, the labor movement was taking off in other parts of the country.
After decades of workers organizing and demanding,
the New Deal finally passed
minimum wage laws,
overtime protection,
and union rights.
But these laws excluded big categories of workers.
Farm workers, domestic workers, and tip workers.
And these categories of excluded workers,
They just happen to be the backbone of the Southern service industry.
An industry powered by the labor of black and brown workers. And that's still true today.
today we still have the lowest union rates in the country.
And bosses are still doing their best to keep us separated by race.
So we don't come together and unionize.
And we're changing that right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
For the last 10 years,
Southern fast food workers, care workers, and retail workers have been organizing under the banner of Raise Up.
Part of the fight for 15 and a week.
our worker-led movement has been fighting for decent wages,
Safe workplaces,
Dignity and respect. And most of all, we've been demanding a seat at the table.
so we can be making the decisions.
about our working conditions. The Union of Southern Service Workers is born out of this decade of collective struggle.
And USSW is doing things different.
Instead of organizing store by store or only making demands from one employer, we're coming together across the service industry.
I'm talking to my dollar store workers,
My nursing home workers,
my warehouse workers stacking boxes, my restaurant servers working for tips.
we're calling all of you into this movement.
Join us and then sign up your co-workers.
We're united around what we have in common, even though we work for different companies.
Organize your whole store. Organize your whole neighborhood.
We're organizing to make structural changes at work.
We're going to transform these low-wage, high-turnover jobs.
Into good union jobs.
How? By building power and numbers.
And turning up the pressure on these bosses and CEOs. When working class people stand shoulder to shoulder, we can fight corporate greed.
We can overcome government neglect.
We can dismantle systemic racism.
We know there's a long road ahead,
But we are building on a long, deep history of Southern struggle.
We stand on the shoulders of unsung freedom fighters.
Movement builders.
and revolutionary workers who paved the way for us.
We are launching our union.
The Union of Southern Service Workers.
With a plan to win.
We're taking to the streets.
We'll go to the courtroom.
We're taking direct action.
By any means necessary.
We are fighting for a better future.
For ourselves.
For our kids.
For our neighborhoods.
For the South.
For the South.
For the South.
For the South.
Now, I don't know about y'all. That should fire y'all up right there. That should fire y'all up. Man, oh man, it is such a blessing and an honor to be with y'all, to be up here with these amazing panelists. And I mean, to even be up here right after our president of SEIU, Mary Kay Henry, just gave that amazing sermon. Normally, I would say the doors of the church are not open, but we are getting ready to have this panel, and I'm sure we're going to be preaching the good news up here. So I am blessed to be up here with y'all. To be up here also in the presence of the Johnsons, Reverend Johnson and Dr. Joyce Johnson. It is such an honor to be with them and amazing work that they have done. Can we all give them a round of applause? I mean, when we say we stand on the shoulders of revolutionary leaders, workers, movement builders, we are definitely talking about them as well. One of the things that Reverend Johnson, he always talks about, and I kind of steal
a little bit of his speech. He told me that was okay. But he asked the question earlier. He said, tell me a community without workers. Reverend Johnson, he told me a long time ago, he said, at the heart of every community is workers. And how you treat those workers is how you treat that community. So when you pay workers low wages, you are sentencing an entire community to poverty. When you are abusing workers, you are abusing an entire community. And when workers are subject to work in unsafe working conditions, you are jeopardizing the health and safety, not of just those workers, but of those families and entire community. This is what we talk about when we talk about organizing community unionism. We talk about not just organizing in our workplaces, but organizing in our communities, because there are workers as well. So we not only talk about going into the workplace, talking to the co-workers, but we talk about going next to your next door neighbors, having community meetings, all of those things, standing shoulder to shoulder with our brothers and sisters who are on this panel, just like we did with the amazing Charlotte workers strike that happened in September. Y'all give them a round of applause. Charlotte workers took action. I mean, just like so many of these amazing worker leaders that are up here fighting each and every day, they are transforming labor, transforming what labor looks like. I saw a study that said so far this year, over 453,000 workers have taken action, have went on strike, have stood up and raised their voices. Now, that includes workers that have taken strike, that went on strike, but that number doesn't include workers who even threatened to strike that have won victories. And that doesn't include the millions of workers that are refusing to work for these low poverty wages and to work in these unsafe working conditions. I believe we are in the middle of a worker revolution where workers are changing the face of what work looks like. That is the moment that we're in. That is the beauty of having this panelists up here, because just like President Mary Kay Henry said, that we are learning how to walk towards each other as we walk towards victory, because when we fight, we what? Win. When we fight, we what? Win. So we know we're going to win. We just have to come together, find ways to walk in true solidarity, to stand shoulder to shoulder for when fast food workers are on the strike line with Charlotte airport workers, and Charlotte airport workers are on the front line with Amazon workers. Amazon workers are supporting Grad Student Union and their amazing recent victory. Y'all give it up to them. Give it up to them. And when we all come together and stand with our public school system, with our teachers, with our healthcare workers, that is how we transform labor. So it is my honor to be up here with this amazing panelist. We have Brother Todd Warren from the public school system, who's representing the public school system, as well as down home North Carolina. Y'all give it up for him real quick. We got our brother Bresette Hames coming from the Charlotte Airport campaign. Y'all give it up for him real quick. Oh man, when we talk about revolutionary workers, fighters, we got the Reverend Melvin Montford up here from the A. Philip Randolph Institute. Y'all give it up for him. Strong leaders, powerful leaders like our sister, Destiny. Y'all give it up for Destiny Blackwell. Give it up. We got Anita, who is a powerful comrade in this movement, who stands with us each and every day. Y'all give it up for Anita from the Duke Grad Student Union. And we got Eric Winston, who is coming from USSW, who is a worker leader who's been involved since 2013, since this fight kicked off in North Carolina. Y'all make some noise for Eric Winston. So how this is going to work is that we're going to first give each one of our panelists a moment to be able to speak, to give us updates, to be able to share with us their strategies, what they're up to, what's going on. And this is that moment that we're going to practice with Reverend Johnson talked about, is that deep listening where we can feel the words that they are sharing so we can understand their strategies and we can figure out how do we fit in, how do we walk towards them. So they will have a moment where they're going to speak, share, give us updates, and then we have some questions for each of the panelists, and then there's an opportunity. I know y'all are waiting because y'all got some amazing questions that is burning inside, so we're going to have a moment for questions, Q&A at the end. Does that sound all right? Does that sound all right? All right, because when we fight, we what? Win. That's all, man. This sounds like the labor movement in here. All right, so first coming up, I'm going to introduce our brother Todd Warren. Y'all make some noise.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Yes. My name is Todd Warren, he, him. I'm here in Greensboro, but I was raised in South Carolina, as Mary Kay said. And as I was getting ready to come over here today, I started making a list of the number of times I've intersected with Beloved Community Center in my life. And I just want to root it in a little bit of history. As someone who was raised in North Carolina, or excuse me, in South Carolina, came to school in North Carolina, I had no idea what unions were about. There was something kind of vaguely nefarious, probably linked to the mafia, maybe in Las Vegas somewhere. I had no idea. But my cousin, Bob Warren, my ancestor now, was the law partner of Lewis Pitts, who's here. And I remember being 9 years old and Bob Warren standing in my kitchen telling me about, and my family, about the 1979 shootouts, and it was in the middle of the civil case, or they were just wrapping up having won the civil case. What I didn't know at the time, and he probably told me, and I just didn't remember it, is that was an attack on multiracial union organizing in the South. That's right. So that when I came then, probably just 11, 12 years later, when I was in Guilford College and sat on the carpet at Faith Community Church at the Beloved Community Center, where Reverend Johnson and Joyce and the Pulpit Forum and so many others were organizing Kmart workers, that was just another step in the power of multiracial union organizing. And it was the first time I'd ever interacted with Unite, a labor union, and saw that workers could win. And workers united with the faith community and with the community at large could win. But we needed everyone all together. There's a lot of other times I could tell you that my life intersected with Beloved Community Center, but I just want to take a moment and say thank you. Thank you. And I'm also glad that you didn't tell me how long this was going to take, because now that first story was when I was 9 years old. I'm about to be 50. So we've been doing this a long time, longer than I thought it would take. But that led me on a trajectory to get involved with our teachers union. And anybody here, raise your hand if you're a union member in here. Okay. Keep your hand up if being a union member is easy. Our friends at Labor Notes run a workshop called What to Do When the Union Breaks Your Heart. And I'm here to say, if the union is about the struggle in the larger world, we have our own struggles. And when I got involved in the teachers union, it was in 2013 at the beginning of Moral Mondays. And it was, if you all were in North Carolina then, you'll remember that the legislature was just engaged in some shock and awe legislation. Every week they would come out with something new, so that Reverend Barbara and others had to start the Moral Mondays movement. And they started the rounds of civil disobedience, and it was attack on women's rights, and it was attack on immigrants, and an attack on reproductive justice. Every week it was just something new and terrible coming out of the North Carolina legislature. I was a teacher at the time, going out to Moral Mondays, and my friends that did this work with me for the next 10 years will tell you, my question was, where the hell is the teachers union at? Because we often have to struggle inside of our movements and inside of our unions that, by the way, are democratically run and democratically led. So if you don't like what's going on, it's time to get up and run for your union local, right?
Talk about it.
When we started to fight, then we formed the Racial and Social Justice Caucus inside the union and went about the work of rebuilding the NCAE. And we had to do it local by local. Fast forward a little bit, in 2017, I was elected president of my union local here. I didn't know it at the time, but when I got the records and I looked at it, it said for the last 8 years, we had lost 63% in membership. I was like, damn, I knew it was bad, but like, I was probably signed up for the wrong job. This is too much. But I learned very quickly that if we could go out and find more people and fight and win, and winning is important, but we don't always win, right? But fight and win where we could, that we could grow. Very soon, not by anything of my doing, it was happening nationally, the West Virginia teachers walked out and started a nationwide strike wave. Now, it was a little bit of my doing. I called my comrades in the union. I was like, we got to be out there. And they were like, no, we can't be out there. Like, yeah, we got to be out there. So in 2018, on May 16th of 2018, we led a one-day walkout of 30,000 people to rally in a historic walkout that happened 2 years in a row. All I'll say about that is now those posters are in our union hall, our statewide union. They didn't want us to do it then. So, if you were in your union and you're fighting, and you feel like this is impossible, my leadership does not support me, keep fighting. Pretty soon, there'll be posters of you on the wall, and they'll say, we always knew you were gonna win. So, I've got other things I would like to share along the way. I'm actually not in the union now. I'm actually working in down home North Carolina because now that we have our leadership on track for the teachers union, which by the way includes cafeteria workers, bus drivers, important parts of how people operate everyday life through our public schools. 1.5 million students are in our public schools, and they depend on the services of public schools. The last thing I'll say before I pass the mic, this legislative session, we saw $500 billion with a B, in private school voucher expansion to give away, pull money out of the public schools into private schools. There's one way to understand that is that's people trying to make money. They're trying to take money out of the public coffers and put it in private hands. That's one thing. The other thing is this is to break the back of the unions. And it's specifically to break the back of the public sector unions because nationally, I think we're at something like 6% density in private sector unions, and the public sector unions are at 33%. This is a direct attack on unions, and we should understand it as such.
Yes. Oh, come on, y'all, give it up, make some noise, give it up, give it up. Now we're gonna hear from Bresette Haynes from the Charlotte Airport Campaign.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Oh, yeah.
All right, nice to meet you. My name is Bresette Haynes. I'm here I'm from Charlotte. I'm a cabin cleaner for Jetstream, servicing American Airlines at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. It's so great to be at this event and surrounded by all these leaders fighting for social justice, likewise. I've been working at the airport for nearly 7 years, and in these 7 years, our wages have barely budged. I I currently make $14.50 an hour in a city where the average rent is about $1,500 a month. And as a cabin cleaner, I make sure planes are clean for incoming passengers. I wipe down surfaces, take out the garbage, and make sure the plane is sanitary. We work in dangerous and often unsafe conditions, coming into contact with syringes and human waste, and are not respected for the work that we do. The companies we work for are more interested in getting planes up in the air as quickly as possible than they are of our safety or the safety of their passengers. I just moved in with my brother and our friend, and I'm consistently struggling to pay bills and the basic necessities. I work a full-time, but often I have to borrow money for money for gas or for haircuts. And I decided to move out of my family's home to be independent. But inflation makes paying for basic things impossible. And I want to be able to support my family and help them financially. And right now, I cannot. We are mostly Black, brown, and immigrant workers, and we're the ones that make air travel possible. But too often, we are overlooked and forgotten about. Airlines and major corporations have consistently stood in the way of a higher quality of life for us all. Over the past year, I've been fighting for a union, and we just won recognition this summer. And so now we are trying to get Jetstream to the bargaining table. We are also fighting for good jobs for good airports to be included in FAA reauthorization, because airport workers across the country deserve better, and we know it.
That's right.
Good jobs for good airports would ensure a living wage, quality benefits, and paid time off for workers across the country. What we do impacts the broader community, and we're so glad that many here today have understood that. We are mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, and when you raise one worker's standard of living, it impacts entire communities.
That's right. All right, y'all. Come on, y'all give it up for that. Y'all give it up for that. When you raise the standard of living for one worker, you raise the standard of living for an entire community. Oh, man, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Now we're going to hear from the A. Philip Randolph Institute from Reverend Melvin Montford. Y'all make some noise.
It's on. Y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
After getting the invite to come here, thinking about what I was going to say in my 5 minutes or 10 or whatever, I've been around a long time. So I'm going to start like this. I like to quote people. Here's an old one that's probably older than anybody in this room. Or maybe not. It goes, what does labor want? We want more schoolhouses and less jails, more books and less arsenals, more learning, less vice, more leisure, less greed, more justice and less revenge. In fact, more of the opportunities to cultivate our better natures, to make manhood more noble, womanhood more beautiful, and childhood more happy and bright. Now, some of you all might know who said that. I see a nod over here, and some of you don't. But for your younger folks, that's a quote that was made by our father of the AFL-CIO, our first president, Samuel Gompers. He was, and labor were greatly criticized. They were vilified in the press. The press was controlled by the corporations. They spent a lot of money, and this is when they started really going after labor and making us look like criminals and gangsters and the devil. It was started because he simply said, we want more things for ourselves and our families. And what's wrong with that? They go after us for wanting more for our families and friends. They don't have a problem buying a new Learjet or buying an island somewhere off of our sweat. So something wrong with that picture.
That's right.
I'm gonna read one more quote, then I'm gonna finish pretty quick. Another quote that actually sets the framework for the A. Fuller Randolph Institute. We're the senior constituency group of the AFL-CIO, so we've been around a long time. My last quote is this: justice, and I read these so I won't mess them up. I've got my 3 scores and 10, so I know to be careful. Justice is never given, it is exacted, and the struggle must be continuous, for freedom is never a final act, but a continuing, evolving process of higher and higher levels of human, social, economic, political, and religious relationships. That statement alone is the crux of what the A. Fuller Randolph Institute stands for and what we do. Because we understand that the wealthy are not going to give us the economic, environmental, and justice and political justice that we deserve. When he says it has to be exacted, that means we got to take it.
Yes.
Okay? When Gompers was talking about what labor wants, we got to take it. I got involved in the labor movement at an early age. The president of the local came to a meeting voting on a strike. I thought a lot of them, older man. He was on the podium crying, and he said to us that the company said that they could give us everything that we're asking for, but when we get man enough to take it, we can have it. I thought a lot of Mr. Ed Edwards, and that bothered me and some more young people. So we said, if that's the case, when the next contract negotiations comes up, we're going to take it.
Yes.
We went up against Weyerhaeuser Company, the biggest wood products company in the world, headquartered in Tacoma, Washington. We put together local unions across the South. We were the first to go out and the last to come back in. The others were afraid to. They were afraid to take on this big company. We took them on for 17 weeks and we won. Because in certain parts of the country, the plants that were white, predominantly white, maybe had 2 black people working on them, they made twice as much as we did. Doing the same work, you hear what I'm saying? Doing the same work. They had pensions and vacations and holidays and we didn't. So we took it from them. So what I'm saying to you, one of the things I'm saying, that the brothers and sisters, the young folks that are going on strike, you don't always see it at that moment, the benefit. But for generations now, because of the work that was done, the younger, newer generations don't have to fight for those things. But now those are industrial workers. And like was said, that left out a lot of folks, farm workers, people that work in restaurants. So I'm really happy to see that those folks understand now, and they're standing up and they're fighting. And I can say to you all, we're there with you. If you need us, call on us. If you need us to be at your picket line, if you need us to help food for families or whatever, call on A. Fuller Randolph Institute. Constituency group simply means that we are a bridge between labor and the community. And we take that very seriously. We work very closely with the AFL-CIO on the executive board. Now that strike I was telling you about, to you young people, When that strike ended, I was 22 years old. And everybody on the picket line said that you're going to be the next president. So what I'm saying to you in that, don't be afraid to fight. Don't let people tell you you can't make decisions because you're young, because you have some great ideas. And for us as an institute to capture that, we created what we call youth chapters. We have 8 of them. Each chapter has a delegate on our executive board that has full voice and full vote. Some of the best ideas that we've gotten to do our work, as far as phone banking and canvassing and advocacy work, has come from ideas from those young people. So for you young folks, be bold. Don't be afraid to tell older folks like me what you think. We really want to know, but a lot don't want to admit that you might know something that they don't know. But we really want to hear from you. We really want to know what you're thinking, because we're fighting for you. I'm fighting now for my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. Because what I see happening in this country and across this state, it bothers me a lot. So a reporter asked me, I was at a press conference with Reverend Barber, and he said, well, you haven't said anything. I said, I don't need to say anything. I got Reverend Barber on my side. So the reporter asked, well, how long are you in this fight? I said, until the day I die. And then you got my children to worry about. Then you got my grandchildren to worry about. Then my great-grandchildren, because I'm going to teach them how to fight your butt too. So my last point is that North Carolina's an at-will state. And if you don't have a collective bargaining agreement that you can only get through a union, you're at will. They can fire and hire you at will with a reason or without reason. So says the federal law. Unless they violate Title VII, they can do that. Now, basically what a union gives you, when you break it all down about collective bargaining, contracts, wages and benefits and all that stuff, you can break that down into 2 things. Basically what a union contract gives you is a voice at work and justice on the job. It's that simple, y'all. If we haven't heard that, the labor movement, having a union contract, it's that simple. It gives you a voice at work and it gives you justice on the job through grievances and arbitrations, and some places to write extractive grievances. So I'll stop at that. I hope I haven't gone too long. When I retired, I was a business rep for the union, and I'm used to talking all night long if you let me. So I'll stop at that.
Come on, y'all. Y'all give it up. Y'all give it up. He said a union is a voice on the job. Let me hear somebody say, my voice, my union. My union. My voice, my union. My community. Now y'all make some noise one more time. All right, y'all. Now we getting ready to hear from my Amazon worker. Y'all give it up for Destiny Blackwell.
Okay, hey y'all. I'm Destiny with Carolina Amazonians United for Solidarity and Empowerment, also known as CAUSE. Before I get started, I'm gonna ask a couple questions. How many of y'all have worked at an Amazon facility? Right on. A lot of times when I ask that question, no one raises their hand, so shout out to my coworkers. That wasn't an applause break. Now, how many of y'all have shopped at an Amazon, from Amazon? So let me tell you about the other side, all right, to give some clarity. At Amazon, at my facility anyway, the facilities are different. We work inside the internet. We're behind your screen when you hit add cart to put your dog food, your facial scrubs, your auto parts. I'm the one that adds it to the cart. And I add 350 items to carts every hour. And if I drop below 300, management's gonna come and ask me why I'm working so slow. When you hit that add to cart button, a 3x3 robot is gonna bring a 8-foot shelf in front of me, and I'm gonna climb up and down that shelf and pick your order. And once again, 340 come an hour. I work in the Garner facility, the RDU1 facility in Garner, North Carolina. This is a facility that, depending on the season, has between 4,000 and 5,000 workers there. And we work in the future. There's probably as many robots in this facility as there are people, possibly more. They couldn't do the work without us. We're not there yet, but we are in the future. Now, I don't know, when y'all were watching the Jetson cartoons in the past, if you thought that the people who would be working with robots would be making $15 an hour, if you thought that the people who were working with robots were going to need roommates and have no prospect of retirement. But that's where we're living now. We live in the future with no prospect of a future. And that's what we're fighting for. One of the co-founders of CAUSE, her name is Miss Mary Hill. She's 69 years old, has cancer, has no prospects of retiring. She's waiting to get her staples out so she can go back to work. Many of the members of our organizing committee, it's not just that they have roommates, it's that they're couples who should be starting their life, should have prospects of being able to support a family, working for one of the largest companies in the world, one of the richest companies to have ever existed, but there is no prospect of being able to support a family off a 40-hour work week at Amazon. There is no prospect of home ownership. The dreams of a single income household are gone. The dreams of a 40-hour work week are gone. Between 2020 and 2022, in our facility, the ambulance was called 263 times, with the main concern being people fainting from working too hard and heat exhaustion. In Charlotte, it was even worse, with 336 ambulance visits in that time period, which is twice as high as locations like Walmart, probably the most direct comparison. And so that's what Amazon workers are fighting for. That's what we are fighting. Those are the conditions that we are working under. These are the conditions that we're working against. In our facility at RDU1, we took these numbers and we fought the company to get fans installed all across the building. This is something that Amazon always could have done. They always had the money to do it. They didn't have to let hundreds of people faint across thousands of facilities, but they won't do the right thing unless we make them, and that's why we have to fight. We're fighting for our lives, we're fighting for our futures. When Jeff Bezos shot himself into space with the Blue Origin rockets, he thanked Amazon workers for paying for it. But he's right. He's right. We did pay for it because all of those profits are unpaid wages to us.
Talk about it.
So this isn't just a fight for the future, it's a struggle for the future to decide whether or not we want a future that shoots one man into space and crushes thousands into the dust. To decide who are the powers that shape our future. That is what we're fighting for. That is what the labor movement today is fighting for. Now, I'll take my moment, as other people have, to thank Reverend Johnson and to point to the shoulders of the giants that we stand on. Because as we struggle for the future, we are standing on the shoulders of the past. I barely knew the labor movement existed until I came to the 50th anniversary commemoration of the Greensboro Massacre, and I learned from the Raise Up people. I learned the struggle that was going on, and I learned how the Communist Workers' Party was organizing multiple facilities, that all of the members were active in organizing, and that turned the light on for me, that this is where, every time I was in organizing spaces, like, man, where are the working class black people? Where are the regular black people? I'm having to learn a whole new dialogue, having to talk to people, And then I'm like, where? And then it just dawned on me, they're at work. Of course they're at work. There is no community, like, as it has been said already, there is no community without workers. There's not a community on this earth without workers. And taking the struggle of community organizing to struggle to organize your community of coworkers has been the most rewarding and most, like, doggone successful organizing I've seen happen in my short time here. I can look around the room and see that I'm on the younger end. I'm on the youth side of the movement here. But I'd say that the harvest is plentiful and the laborers are you. I'll say it again because someone asked me to. The harvest is plentiful, the laborers are you. It took us a long time to get into this mess. The unions were on decline before I was born. This upsurge happening in my time is our time to fight. Our time. Because literally, the same forces that oppressed the previous generation, like Jeff Bezos got $245,000 from his parents to start Amazon. They tell you he started in a garage. They don't tell you that his parents gave him $250,000 to start it. But his parents were the ruling class of Cuba. Elon Musk is coming from an apartheid billionaire in South Africa. These are the same forces of oppression that have been holding black workers down for generations. And if we don't continue to fight, we will get what we deserve. Dare to struggle, dare to win. If you don't dare to struggle, you don't deserve to win. I'll say it again. Dare to struggle, dare to win. If you don't dare to struggle, you don't deserve to win. I didn't come up with that, so don't.
Oh, come on, y'all, come on. Make some noise. Make some noise for that. I told y'all we was going to be having some good news being preached up here. And the preaching is going to continue. Oh, man, that was amazing. Made me feel guilty about my Amazon cart. Jeez, bless you. But I hope that we taking notes on this because this is some good information that's going out. And so now, coming from the Duke Grad Students Union, y'all make some noise for Anita.
All right, y'all. When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
Hey y'all, my name's Anita. I'm getting my PhD at Duke. I study different species of plants, how they coexist under climate change. I use a combination of mathematical models, greenhouse experiments, and field work to answer these questions. And y'all might be wondering what this little nerd is doing up here on this stage besides Amazon workers and former public school teachers and organizers. And the answer is that, just this past August, we won a union, the Duke Grad Students Union. Was the biggest labor victory in North Carolina since 2008. That was the Smithfield Workers Union, hog farmers. So 2,000 workers have recently unionized in Durham, North Carolina at Duke, the biggest employer across the Triangle, an organization with a $12 billion endowment that's maybe a little bit more like a hedge fund than it is like a university. How many of y'all have ever stepped foot on Duke's campus? Okay, so y'all already know the deal. Have you heard about this nickname, what workers who actually do the work at Duke call our university? Yeah, yes, exactly. So it's a real boon to us to be able to try to win a union. We're about to start bargaining our first contract next month.
Let's go.
And you know, before we unionized, we were making right around $30,000 a year. That's somewhere around $15 an hour. And so it's meant a lot to us to be able to collaborate with other unions like USSW, because we know that 15 an hour isn't enough.
That's right.
I heard recently that workers at Waffle House were demanding something a little bit more, maybe something like 25.
Woo!
And it means a lot to us to be able to stand with y'all, because I think there are two big reasons that we were able to win this union at Duke, now the second biggest union in the state of North Carolina, the first graduate student body to unionize at a university in the South. And those two things are our mentors and our working conditions. You know, we were going around doing canvases and lab walks just like every other union does. We were walking through facilities that had high-pressure lasers, where people were wearing hazmat suits, you know, really intense research stuff. But when we went to go talk to them, the number one thing everyone said was the rents are too high and our wages aren't enough. That's something that anyone living and working in Durham can understand. So, and maybe not even Durham, right? I know y'all back there in Charlotte are dealing with the same thing as us, right? The rent is too high, our wages are too low. And that in and of itself, those conditions are enough for us to need to come together, because this is not just a Duke problem, this is not just a PhD student problem, this is an everyone problem. The second thing is our mentorship. You know, we're an underfunded, you know, union in the South. We didn't have any full-time employees, any full-time staff working with us on our campaign. And the only reason we were able to win is because of people that we had learned from. I personally, you know, I grew up in North Carolina, was involved with the moral movement. I learned how to organize from Keith. I learned how to organize from Laurel. I learned how to organize from Mrs. J and Reverend J through the Poor People's Campaign. And without that history, we would not have stood a chance. So there's a reason for us to come together and show up for each other, because we learn. If we don't show up, we can't win at our own workplaces, right?
That's right.
So there are two things I want to keep talking about here as we talk about how we move together, move forward, but move towards each other at the same time. That is our shared conditions and our shared mentors. Just like everyone else up here, I want to just thank Mrs. J and Reverend J for everything you've taught me. I would not have known how to talk to a single other person about these kinds of issues in a way that was spiritually moving and just real without everything I've learned from you all, so thank you. And yeah, I mean, we're about to start our first contract fight, so keep up with us. But the real thing I want to say is that, you know, we came together and we fought and we won. That is possible for everyone here. So I just want to end on that same note I started with. When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win.
Thank y'all.
Woo! Come on. Y'all got to give it up. Y'all got to give it up, give it up. Oh, man, it sounds like we are transforming labor up here. All right, so now from the Union of Southern Service Workers, y'all make some noise for Eric Winston. Take your time.
Sound off.
Sound off.
You.
SSW.
Who are we? And what do we do? No, y'all weren't loud enough. Who are we? USSW. And what do we do? Who are we? USSW. And what do we do? That's what I'm talking about. I want to start off by thanking Rev and Ms. J for allowing this platform for us to come speak. I really do appreciate it. My name is Eric Winston. I'm a worker leader for USSW. I'm a chef at a restaurant called Lula and Sadie's. I said it right. Lula and Sadie's. I was born and raised in the Bull City. Woo woo. I want to thank y'all for giving me a chance to share my thoughts about leadership development and how we learn as we lead in USSW. I want to tell you how I got involved and what I've learned since then. I joined the movement in the beginning, 2013, when it was Fight for 15 formed in Durham. At that time, I was working at Waffle House as a server. And an organizer by the name of Layla Noor, I call her my guardian angel, she brought me into the movement. Before I met her, I didn't know I had a voice. Didn't know my voice counted. I didn't even know I had rights as a worker. She opened my eyes to what's really going on in the world and how the workers like me have the powers to change things. And once I understood what this movement was about, there was no gray area for me. I was committed from the jump, like right off back. And one lesson that she taught me and other workers that she organized was about personal responsibility as workers and as leaders. She showed me that you have to follow through on what you say and take ownership of this fight. And there are different kind of leaders. There are vocal leaders, visible leaders, and there are shadow leaders. But there are shadow leaders that put work in the background. They lace up their boots and quietly get it done. And we need both of these kind of leaders. So we have to develop those who want to be developed. I try to see potential in every worker I talk to. And one thing that's important for USSW in terms of developing leaders is that you have to get to know people. You have to sympathize with their situation and be authentic with them. Be real with them. Phone banking is good, but house visits are better. You know what I'm saying? People have to know that you're human. USSW is good at relating to our workers. We show them that we understand the struggle and that the struggle is real. Willingness to learn should never stop. The more we learn, the more we can pass on to other leaders who are coming behind us. We need to be passing on leadership and knowledge, passing the torch, as Mama Cookie would always say. And another reason we have to keep learning, each year the fight becomes different. The only way we can fight the correct fight is by constantly learning. When I think back to 2013, a lot has changed. Back then, no one even thought $15 was attainable. And since then, we've been winning. Workers, money in a lot of states that have won $15 and up. But those 200 workers who walked off those jobs in 2012 and started a fight for 15 in New York City, they set off a wave in this country, and it changed the country. And we're going to fight, keep fighting for wage equality. When I say wage equality, I mean equality between men, women, and all other identities. And equality between people of color and white people. Our base is fast food, retail, dollar store, home care, warehouse, restaurant workers, gas station, grocery stores, tobacco stores, all low-wage workers. The whole Southern service industry share common issues. That's why USSW's workers have developed one unified set of standards, one unified set of demands that applies to all service industry employers. Allow me to outline these 5 demands. My USS people, when I say, I need you to repeat with me. We demand, dignity and equality. We demand, health and safety. We demand, fair and constant scheduling. We demand, fair pay we can build lives on. And we exercise our right to organize. And demand a seat at the table. I want y'all to repeat that with me. We exercise our right to organize. And demand a seat at the table. And we have a lot of things that needs to change with our working conditions. So building strong unions is our goal. We are going to keep fighting until these corporations learn to put people over profits. Thank you.
Oh man, this is amazing. This is amazing. Thank you. Can we give a round of applause to each of our panelists? Yes. So we have a series of questions that we're gonna go through with our panelists, and it's open to anybody that want to answer. But I have some specifically for certain people and things. And so we're gonna go through this and things. And I would love to hear y'all voices. And if we have time at the end, like I said, I definitely want to make room for some Q&A so you all can be able to share your thoughts as well. And so this question is for Todd, Anita, and Destiny. What makes your approach to labor different from the traditional approach to labor work? And I'll start with Todd.
I would say the way that we approach organizing inside the NCAE, which is a state affiliate of the NEA, the largest labor union in the country, is a traditional approach, but it's from decades ago. And one of the people that I follow and I encourage you to read up on is union organizer Jane McAlevey. And I remember a quote in one of her books that said, "Too many unions are in the business of managing their own decline."
Say that.
That too many unions are in the business of managing their own decline. So what we had seen year after year when I talked about the membership loss that we had experienced was the union had taken an approach to lobbying, getting some crumbs around the edges. Could we get a 2% raise here, a 1.5% raise there? And the approach that we decided to take, which was really a traditional union approach, but it's the traditional union approach from the 30s and 40s, was when we fight, we win, but you have to bring people into the fight. And there's a number of ways that we did that, but the brother Eric Winston saying that passing on leadership and knowledge is not enough. A leadership or elected position is not just one person. When I started as the president of our local, I was doing a lot of it by myself. I was coming into that 63% decline over eight years. There wasn't a whole lot of people around. Our union membership had declined. In 4 years, in the first year, we stopped membership loss. In 4 years, we were the fastest growing union local in the state and one of the fastest growing in the country several months running. We had 5 to 6 different working committees. There were book studies. There were different committees it was during COVID, so we had committees working with Duke University on studies on masking in schools to keep workers safe. And we just kept bringing more and more people, but every time they came in, they had a job, and they were part of the fight, and then they led a committee, and then you needed to get elected to the exec board, and then you needed to run for governance yourself. So much so that I'm actually not in the union right now. I'm working adjacent for our project right now is Public School Strong, is full circle to understand that this attack on public sector workers and the attack on public schools to break the back of unions is an attack on black workers.
Say that.
Because the density of public sector workers is black is why we have the most draconian anti-labor laws in the South. To what Brother Montford said about when organizing a union contract, if you work in the public schools, your contract is a one-page piece of paper that says you work here until you get fired. I mean, we don't have a contract because collective bargaining for public sector workers in the South and in North Carolina is outlawed. But when we went on that walkout in 2018, they told us, well, number one, you can't do that. That's against the law. And we said, well, it's going to be all of us, so you're going to have to fire all of us. But to build the solidarity, because when I say teachers union, it is the educator union. It incorporates bus drivers, cafeteria workers. One of the ways that we did that, and one of the tactics we employed, is in order to walk out and shut down the school system, teachers had to put in a personal day. They were going to be out for one day. Well, bus drivers and cafeteria workers and other classified support staff don't earn personal days. So we had to work in solidarity. In order for them to walk out, the teachers had to first put in their days. They had to put some skin on the line in the game and take a risk. So it is actually a traditional tactic. We just haven't seen a lot of it in a long time, is we ask people to take risks and they ask them to step in the fight, but they have to have skin in the game.
Yes, yes. Anita.
All right. Well, you know, like Todd and Destiny and others have been saying up here, you know, I grew up in North Carolina. I didn't know a thing about unions. Certainly, it's not something I learned about in school. I had this idea that union people wore pinstripe suits and were doing shady backroom deals in Chicago somewhere, you know, and also it was the 1930s, you know, that was my idea of what unions were. But I think what makes DGSU different than the sort of traditional union approach is that in everything we do, we are really loud and we are really public. And again, that's something that we learned from our comrades at USSW. We first formed in 2016, but Duke refused to recognize us. We tried to have a union election. We lost, but we continued as a union, a direct action, direct join-based union from 2016 to 2023. And we made all sorts of gains by just doing loud, large, direct actions with hundreds of people coming out. And the beauty of that is that now we have this long history of people in our unit knowing that it's possible to make change when you take action. We won dental insurance after not having any sort of dental coverage by surrounding the president's building 2 years ago and chanting, "Teeth are not luxury bones." And they're not. You know, before last year, we had to pay $500 a year to park on campus. That's paying $500 a year to go to work. And, you know, hundreds of us, I think 150 of us, just became the biggest pains in their asses that we could. We called them every day, we emailed them every day, and now we still have to pay $200 a year, which is still $200 too many, but it's a whole lot less. And so, you know, when it came time for this election, everyone knew what a union was. A union isn't, you know, pinstriped suits in a shady back room. It's people coming together and doing something. You know, it's collective action. That's all a union is. It's you and me doing something together.
Yes.
So, you know, militancy won us our union, and we're not stopping now, even though we have this ability to bargain a contract. I think that's something that's different than at least the traditional stereotype of what a union is. You know, the day after we won, we were outside the president's office, locked out, chanting, "Bargain with us now." And actually, our president's general counsel immediately called our staff to say, "We're being bullied and harassed, get these kids out of here." But we didn't leave. And even when we get to the bargaining table, we've opted for something called open bargaining. So anyone in our unit, 2,000 people, are able to come to the table and see what Duke is all about. It's going to be the most politicizing thing possible because you know these 6-figure, 7-figure making lawyers are going to say, "We actually don't have money in our $12 billion endowment for you. I know you only had to pay $200 in parking this year, but we're upping it again to $300. And once people see that, their lives are changed forever. They know that, you know, the boss doesn't care about you the way that you care about you. They know that you only get what you're organized to take.
Say that.
So I think direct action is a tool we can't take for granted, even for those of us in the private sector, like workers at Duke who have the ability to have a contract. We have to take action. We have to be militant wherever we go. Because again, you know, when we fight,
we win.
Never gets old.
Woo! Destiny.
Okay, so the way that we're working that is different than traditional unions, there's a lot of ways, okay? First, this past weekend, we had a delegation of cause workers meet with other Amazon workers who are organizing from 13 states across the country and Canada. And while we were there discussing, sharing tactics, coordinating things that I'm not going to say here, but we'll tell y'all later because I want you to be a part. It's like there were unions, there were big unions there, right? And they were commenting that they've never seen the presence of multiple big unions without them scrapping over territory and having infighting, but actually working together. We're forcing these people to work together because the silos don't work with Amazon. It's impossible. We have too big, like Amazon is practically universal, practically ubiquitous. We can't be divided fighting something so enormous. And that's something that we will take help from anybody, cause will, and we've had to fight the big unions to be reasonable with that, to not be territorial. And that, like, as someone who didn't know that unions were like that, you know, we kind of have talked about the negative perception of unions. I had a really positive perception of unions. My dad had been a Teamster for 33 years. He was a shop steward. And I worked with them over the summer, and I got to see him negotiate contracts. And even when the plant shut down, he negotiated the severance package. And I saw unions as really, I mean, as close as my dad. I didn't know that they have 100-year-old beefs in New York that somehow they're trying to make my problem in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that's just something that we just can't let fly. That's something we got to smack down every time they bring it up.
That's right.
And that's my number one thing that I would say is different from the traditional unions. We, because there's so many different groups attacking Amazon, because there's so many different ways. They're the tech workers, they're the fulfillment workers, they're the drivers, they're the DSP, they're the delivery stations. We have to innovate, and that's what we're doing.
Woo! Oh man, we got some truth going on up here. It's the Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Summit, and we up here speaking the truth. Am I right? That's right. All right, all right. All right, so for the sake of time, I have a few questions. I'm going to specifically go to certain people. And so on to the Charlotte Airport campaign with our brother Bresette. Quick question. How does the labor movement adapt to challenges like automation, gig worker, and high turnover?
Turnover, first and foremost, is a very huge problem for us. When I talk to people who are thinking about leaving, I ask them, why do they like their jobs? And then I tell them they have the opportunity to change things for future workers in the airport across other industries. There are a lot of people in these other industries who feel like they get in the short end of the stick, and here you have an opportunity to change things for others. And I bring up that they already invested so much time in the workplace, and that they can make it worth it by fighting for these individuals. For airport workers specifically, we are trying to raise wages and standards through the Good Jobs for Good Airports Act. And for too long, airlines have fought against unionization by separating their workers through subcontracting the work out that we do. But by raising and fighting for health care and paid time off, we are solving a piece of this problem.
That's right.
We are ensuring that workers across the country who do the same work that are paid a living wage with quality benefits, because no worker should have to work as hard as we do in the airports and have to work on a second job to make ends meet.
Somebody repeat that. Let me hear y'all say, no worker.
No worker.
Should have to work as hard as they do.
As hard as they do.
And then have to get a second job.
And then have to get a second job.
Say, that ain't right.
That ain't right.
Don't quit.
Don't quit.
Organize.
Organize.
That's right. Y'all make some noise. Now, this one is for Reverend Melvin Montford. How does the labor movement contribute to the broader social and economic justice movement?
There's several ways. You know, like I said, I'm with the Fuller Randolph Institute. Politics is power. One of the things that we can't do at the Institute is we cannot endorse candidates. We can't do that. I'm not a C3, we can't. But a lot of our members and our staff, they're deeply involved with the labor councils. And through their unions, a lot of them are associate members, and some are Teamsters in different unions. But through their unions, they can go to those labor council meetings. They can ask those people that come before labor to get their endorsement the questions that we can't ask them at the Randolph Institute. We pull questions out of the communities, like on education, different pieces, that people in the community want to know how these people really feel about it. So we can pass those on to the Labor Council through our members, and they can ask those people some really tough questions that they don't want to answer, that they won't answer when they get out in the public. So, and advocacy question, education questions, that's one of the ways that we connect labor to the community. And the labor folks appreciate that because they want to know, because, you know, union density in the state, what is it, 2.9 or 3 now, a little bit above South Carolina. So the labor movement in North Carolina really wants to know what they can do to help out the community, because their members actually live in the community, and they understand that. And they also understand that if it were not for the communities, that they wouldn't exist. Without community support, the labor movement would not exist in this state, because they don't have enough numbers by themselves to get things done politically. So they have to depend on the community groups, including the religious groups, to actually help with those fights. But they're in a unique position that us C3s, like some churches, can't be in. We can't ask those tough questions. We can't endorse them. But we can, once labor makes this endorsement based on what we want them to ask, we can hit the streets. Okay, we can hit the streets in a way that labor can't, because they're like 3%. Because for us at APRI, we actually have more staff people than the North Carolina State FLCO does. We actually have more activists than they have. Because we have, well, we're gonna have 52 chapters across the state by the end of the year. And it's not about just building chapters, it's about building community power. And I can say it in this group, it's about building community powerhouses. Now, the community powerhouse, what that means is that the connection between labor and the community, that whether it's a labor issue that comes up, or an issue about education, bullying at school, any issue that comes up, that we can tie labor with their political power to our political power and actually make things happen. So we actually have students that have problems that we can tell them which city council person, we can actually say to them, this is the school board person that you need to talk to, because we know that that person is a friend to labor and a friend of working people. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
And I was listening to the folks in Durham, just to give you an example, and Mary B. McMillan called us one day and says, They're having an election for the ad hoc, for the, can't remember, Durham. And we need some help making phone calls. And so we says, well, how many do you want made? And she said, well, there's about 5,000. And we said, how many do you need to make in the afternoon? Because we'll make that in the morning. And the same thing with other labor groups, with the teachers. When the critical race theory thing was going on, we actually put a person on staff, on part-time staff, that was a school teacher, that was a member of NCAE, to be our expert on CRT. So when our folks went to school board meetings, community meetings, we had the inside story on what CRT was, and we could say, no, we don't even have that in our schools. Why in the world are you arguing about it? So that's basically how it works. There's just so much of it. I could stay hours talking about it, but that's who we are, connected to labor. We have staff folks that are labor council presidents and treasurers and all kinds of stuff. We go to the union meetings, the labor council meetings, we go to the picket lines, and whatever we can do to bridge the gap between labor and the community, because we are the same. Yes. Labor unions would not exist when they got started back in the 20s and 30s. It was illegal before 1935, and they got started in churches and Masonic halls and that kind of thing. That's how unions started, because you could go to jail back in those days for forming a union, or you could be killed.
Yes. Come on, y'all, make some noise. I mean, when we talk about how does the labor movement connect to the broader social justice movement, Reverend Melvin Montford just told us that it started as a social justice movement that turned into the labor movement. So, we can't do one without doing the other. It has to be connected. So one more time, y'all give them a round of applause. Now, one question for Eric Winston. How does the labor movement expand on the rise of workers taking radical action?
Repeat that one more time.
How does the labor movement expand on the rise of workers taking radical action?
Well, speaking with USSW, we have to take radical actions because we're fighting for more than just higher wages. We're fighting for LGBTQ rights. I got it right, y'all. I got it right. We basically fight for humanity rights, man. Fighting to be treated as people and not property. We're fighting for immigrant rights. We're fighting for equal housing. It's a long list of fights that we're fighting for, not just wages. And it's important that it's important that we fight all these fights, because all these fights are basically come under one umbrella. You can't fight one fight without fighting another fight. So it's imperative that we go hard. That's right. You know what I'm saying? Kick the door in, and put soldiers on these ground that's ready to fight this war, man. Because I don't know other way else to put it, really. You know what I'm saying? Because if we've been sitting back too long and we don't fail behind too long, and now every generation has its duty to fight, and this is my time to fight, so I'm going hard. That's all I can say.
I know I heard that a couple of times. They said up here a couple of times, it's our time to fight. Say, it's our time to fight.
It's our time to fight.
That's right, that's right. Man, here's the thing. I'm going to do a little bit of organizing, y'all. So I said that we were going to have a moment for Q&A. But here's a great opportunity for conversations that can take place during lunch and all of those things. One thing that I know about these amazing leaders that are up here, and we say this in USSW, is that these workers, these leaders that are up here are not just the experts on the problems. They are the experts on the solutions. They know what it takes. They're not just the experts on the problem, but they're the experts on the solutions. They know what needs to happen. They know how we can get involved. And this is our opportunity to sit back and to listen from them and to let them take the lead, because they know what it takes to improve things on their jobs. They know what it takes to improve things in our communities. Because like it's already been said, is that these issues, all of the issues in our communities, are also worker issues. So when attacks against the LGBTQIA community, that is a worker issue. Workers need to stand up. When there's attack on women's rights and women's reproductive rights, that's a worker issue. And workers need to stand up and speak up. When there's attack on immigrant justice, on immigrant rights, that is a worker issue. We need to stand up. And when workers can't even afford to go to the doctor because they don't have health insurance, we know health care is not just a worker right, but it's a human right. Am I right? Am I right? So when all of these issues we're faced with, it is our responsibility, it is our time, like it's been said, for us not to just stay in our silos of working on our issues, but just like it's been said, this is our opportunity to walk towards each other, to stand with each other, to stand on multiple issues, because we are not just solely single issue people. We're multi-issue people that face multiple issues, that care about a variety of aspects of our lives. And so we as a movement, as a union, and as a campaign must stand up and represent workers, not just in the workplace, but also on their way to work, on their way in the workplace, but also on their way home from work and in their community. Because like Reverend Montford said, is that when people stand up on the job, they take that same energy, like my brother Earl Bradley, take that same energy to their housing authority meetings. Then they take that same energy, like Mama Cookie, to the city council and stand up. This is our time. We're in the middle of a worker revolution, and it's time for us to stand together and change what work looks like. So give a round of applause to all of our amazing panelists. Stand up, stand up. Give an amazing round of applause to our amazing panelists. I deeply encourage everybody over lunch to ask those questions, sit with them, talk with them, ask those questions, and figure out how we all can get a part of each and every one of these campaigns and movements. And I see y'all out there on the strike line.
I like how you put that.
All right, don't go nowhere, don't go nowhere, don't go nowhere, girl, don't go nowhere. Let's give him another round of applause. Come on, y'all. So we just need a few more minutes. Lunch has been set up, but how did y'all enjoy that panel? All right, all right, all right. It seems like there's a lot more energy in day 2 today. Day 1 was good, but the energy, look, I don't know if y'all brought the energy for day 2, but y'all did a great, amazing job. And one of the things, you know, that I just want to point out something that was said that kind of stressed me out, is that as my brother was talking, he said, we fight in this fight, we fight in that fight, we fight in that fight, we fight, and it's like we always fighting. It's like all my life I had to fight. But I say that jokingly, but the weight of what people that's already oppressed have to do in multiple fights. And so when we see those that are fighting, it is our duty that everybody may not be on the front line on the struggle, but when you see the fighters fighting, we need to support the fighters. We can't necessarily, and sometimes, you know, we do have resources. We've got resources, go to that resource. If you know a funder, call that funder and help that funder understand the reason why they need to support this fight. Because not only are they fighting, like when he said, I don't know if you caught this part, it's not just fighting in the job, but fighting in their own communities. So they fighting for rights for others, and they gotta go home and fight just to get something to eat for the night. While they're fighting. And I'm saying that because I'm remembering, like sometimes we forget where we have come from. You know, when I talked about the meetings with Reverend Johnson, I remember me and Herb pulling together $2 just to get some gas. The gas when you can get somewhere with $2. Pulling together $2 or pulling some money just to get gas to go to the meeting to fight. And so when we're looking at the workers and those that are in this struggle, and it's a beautiful thing to see. You know, I know Brother Melvin. I sat at a round table with him. And I said, I'm glad to see you in the fight. And he said, it's a lifetime struggle. He said, it's a lifetime fight. And he has the same continence. It's like, hey, we here. I mean, and he's locked in. Like he's not going anywhere. Like a tree planted by the water. And it's good to see that tree planted by the water and this new crop coming up strong. So they have an example of a tree that's solid while they are growing and moving in this movement. And it's also a beautiful thing to see the babies connected to this movement. So they not babies that, it's beautiful to have babies with the scholars and the ones that think and punt. It's beautiful. We need all of our scholarship and our leaders. But it's another thing to have those babies around these folks. Because those babies are going to be coming around, jumping, where's the fight at? So you got a new generation of babies that's ready to fight. And they know why they fighting. And they see their parents fighting. But at some point, we need to go from surviving to thriving. All right? Because I just got to the point that it's okay to be in a nice hotel while I'm fighting. No, I'm dead serious. Because I remember the days when we had to stay at people's houses, carpool to get here and get there and not be able to lounge in a nice hotel. I was at a conference seeing some of the folks that's been struggling for years, and they put us up in a nice hotel, and I looked around, I got scared because was I supposed to be here? I didn't believe that I was supposed to be here, even though I'm the one fighting for justice for our people, and we should have some comfort to lay our head when we fight. So this wasn't a program. I told you I'm a Baptist Muslim. I'm moderating later on today. But I really want us to not just hear them, but feel them. Feel those that are actually out there. I got friends locally and nationally that's on the front line. Now, I'm thinking about my sister Tamika Mallory when she is in Louisville, Kentucky, and doing some work and literally having death threats. Coming to the hotel. I had another friend had death threats coming to the hotel, and they had a banquet, and they had to move within 40 hours to another hotel because the hotel said, well, y'all got too many death threats. Death threats from people trying to get a better life for us. Like literally be on the front line and somebody wants to kill you where you have to have a security detail because you're fighting for the rights of people. Do y'all think McDonald's just sat down and was like, we ain't gonna do something to them? Come on. Ronald McDonald for Big Smile is a true gangster. Talk about it. Because we look at quote unquote TV gangsters, but we don't know gangsters are the ones that don't give you fair housing. Gangsters are the ones that legislate mass incarceration. Gangsters are the ones that want to stick your truck to my drug dealers on the block, but you're the #1 drug dealer in the school system. You the one that can't control the children, so you want to put them on drugs because you ain't got the capacity to teach them. Those are gangsters. Gangsters wear suits. Gangsters have briefcases and sit in on Capitol Hills and legislate laws that oppress the people. Those are gangsters. Gangsters are saying, I don't think you got weapons of mass destruction, but I don't care if you do or don't. I'm still going to drop a bomb on you. Matter of fact, I may drop a bomb on myself to cause us to go to war. Okay, so we're here for the Truth, Justice, and Reconciliation Summit. And this is just a little taste of what we're getting, because we're going to hear Reverend Barber in a few. And then we're going to have our faith panel. But I hope you get excited. I hope you stay in this, right? And as Keith said, he's organizing. So don't do the same old, and just sit in your seat with your comfort zone. Go to the other seat and see somebody else. Because we cannot stay in our silos and think we're going to win this fight. We got to come out of our silos and unite together to form this fight. So dinner is served. I don't know if Reverend Keith, he's going to be Reverend Keith, want to bless this food. Oh, we need 4 more minutes. See, that's the worst thing y'all can do when you want to give somebody that's already fired up 4 more minutes. Because you know that 4 more minutes is taking a long time. Right there, while we waiting for them to finish setting up, let me ask you one question. Anybody want to come to the mic, since y'all sound so excited, just to kind of say what you felt that you just got from this last panel? Anybody was excited about what you heard? Don't let me call Cookie out. But anybody, okay, somebody's coming to the panel. You got that slow walk. I like that now. I wonder what's coming.
Got his thoughts coming. Here she come. Come on, brother. Woo. Come on, brother.
Good afternoon, TC.
Good afternoon.
Reverend Johnson. Dr. Johnson, my name is Jim Davis. I'm Christina Davis McCoy's big brother. I'm her protector. I'm not one of those gangsters, but I did work in Washington for a while. Right. Excellent panel. Excellent panel. Union workers is where freedom begins. It's a lifetime fight. And I'm glad to witness these young people take up the fight, especially these young females. I'm a product of Greensboro. And when I came back to Greensboro yesterday, I marveled at the progress the physical progress that I witnessed. But it took vision and the beginning of the kind of work that these young people here are doing now. See, I can remember when we didn't have but one African-American bus driver here in Greensboro. 2 police officers of my color in Greensboro, you see. But the fight started with them and is ending like we're sitting right now here in Bennett. So, union workers, stay at it.
Yes.
Stay at it, because it's a lifetime work. And congratulations on the work that you're doing. Yes.
Hello, everybody. As everybody knows, I am Mama Cookie. But you know what? This fight has not just started for me with USSW. I started this fight a long, long time ago. But I stepped back, and when I came up to this USSW, I didn't start with y'all. I started with that man sitting right there.
There you go.
That's where my fight started at. I learned to be radical with Reverend Johnson. Whenever you saw him put that tam on and he cocked it to the side, he was ready. He was ready. But you know, in the process of growing, I learned a lot. I learned that sometimes you can be humble and win a fight. Sometimes it pays to be humble and win a fight. I did a action, me and Clara, and I sat down one day and I said, Clara, I want to do a sit-in We went to South Point Mall, and we sat down, and we didn't make no fuss. They were so paranoid and watching us sit down till they didn't know what to do. They had the little security guards over here, over there. Everybody was watching us. But we were just sitting down eating, talking. But sometimes it pays to be quiet. And he can't though, but it pays to be quiet. And when we got ready to leave, boy, security was watching us. But when we hit that door, we let them know we've been here. But we pulled in people that wanted to continue to fight. This fight ain't about it just like at the workplace. We got to keep going in our community. Right. Every time you see Mama cooking, I'm in my community fighting. Right. I say, Keith, I'm ready to go. Keith's like, what you doing now? I say, I'm going over Hillville Road, or I'm going to Edgemont Elm. I'm going to somewhere where the people need to hear me and see me. Sitting in that office ain't gonna get me nothing. Come on. And Eric is one of the biggest supporters of mine that says, Mama Cookie, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm like, darn, Eric, I be tired sometimes. But you know what? Keep fighting, guys. Young folks, don't stop. Y'all journey just begun. I'm telling you, it's just begun. Don't let nobody carry you around. As that old song say, don't let nobody turn you around. Keep on fighting. Keep on walking. Keep on talking. Because you are going to win.
That's right.
You can't lose. You're going to win.
That's right.
And I'm going to stand until I can't walk no more. And I'm going to keep fighting with you. And when you need me, call me. I'm coming. If I have to catch the Trailways, the Greyhound, or whatever, I'm on your side.
That's right.
All right. All right, so it is that time to go ahead and you want to say something, you're going to be the last. Go ahead, quit so we can eat.
I don't know where Anita went. I just wanted to tell her to keep up the good work because I was a member of the Writers Guild of America when a new owner came into the newspaper where I was working. He settled with the Teamsters and set them against us. He threatened us with loss of healthcare access. I'm sitting next to a man who has type 2 diabetes and a woman who has asthma. They need their health insurance.
That's right.
We had to cave. You stick together. Don't split into silos. Stay together and fight because we can't win if we don't fight.
Yeah.
Right. Keep it up.
And we know we got to fight, and we got to go eat if we want to keep fighting. So everybody, the food is ready. We want to go ahead and make sure we do that. But please get back by 1:40 because we're going to have Reverend Barber come on the screen whether you're eating or not at 1:45. He's coming in via Zoom. Y'all see how old I am. So via Zoom. So let's go ahead and get in line and start preparing for our food. All right. Oh, bless the food. Quick blessing. Quick blessing.
Don't y'all go nowhere.
Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you, thanking you for this time of being together. We thank you for the revelation knowledge that you have blessed us with. We thank you for what you have already done and what you have in store for us. We ask that you bless the hands that prepare the food and let the food nourish our body as your word nourishes our soul. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let's eat.